What's up, YouTube? So I was kind of, running this through my head, and this is nothing against Ford Boss Me at all. I think he's a great technician. I think, and I've never been a dealer service tech, a line tech, so meaning that's all you're working on is their product lines. And some dealerships have used car departments where you're working on everything, right? And I would say that some quick lanes are probably just spilling and filling multi-manufacturers, and your master techs aren't on those lines. I'm sorry, I did it again. It must be a habit. I'm always banging something. That's what I'm thinking, right? My wheels are turning. So, I'm just curious that did he have a hard time transitioning from dealer life to mom and pop, right? Because when you go private label shop, right? We'll just call it, my garage. You leave the dealership master technician life where you're basically running the shop. You answer to the service manager. You answer to the owners. You're answering to warranty departments and engineers and all kinds of stuff, right? And that's your cup of tea. And then you're like, well, maybe it's not my cup of tea. I think there's something bigger and better out there for yourself. And you say, all right, I want to try and open my own shop and do side work outside of the work hours, right? And you're loving it a little bit, but it's something new for you. And then you say, hey, all right, now I'm going to partner up with somebody and open a shop. So I had a similar scenario for myself. What's up? Fix it. I was running franchise shops for basically my whole career. I started in '91 at Midas, and basically muffler brakes and front end was fairly simple gig for me in the early '90s into the 2000s or so. And Midas had a pretty good system. They had their branded label parts, and on and on and on. The training systems. Good company overall to work for, although I wasn't making a whole lot of money back in the 90s. I did get plenty of hours though. So after 3 years of being a good Midas technician, installer, salesman at the same time, because I sold my own work. And we were in, our demographic was farmy, college kind of area, so it wasn't like super rich or anything like that. And we had fore and aft lifts, in-ground lifts for lifting RVs and shit, for exhaust and brakes and front end. So the demographic was fairly good in Glassboro, New Jersey. And I was just a novice back then. I didn't know shit. And back then we did a lot of brake jobs. And that's when brake pads on average lasted about 10,000 miles or 15,000 miles. And then after 10 years of being with them, I was a manager 3 years into it and managing shops, and then going into shops that weren't doing very well and bringing them up to speed and turning them around. A lot of things have changed over the years in our line of business. The ball moves fast, and the economy seems to move fast, and people in financial predicaments seem to move fast, where they live way outside their means and are worried about keeping up with the Joneses. But anyway, for me, I've always worked on cars when I was a young man, in my driveway, taking things apart. I knew fixing cars is what I wanted to do. I didn't really know much about anything else past fixing cars until I got into managing. And then I was like, all right, 10 years at Midas, they didn't treat their management very well. I wasn't paid very well. And then they dissolved their Cosmic Enterprises dissolved being in the franchise business, the corporation business, and decided to sell to franchisees. Then I went to work for a franchisee who brought me into the game. And 5 years with him on a buyout program where he was going to retire and I was going to buy his Meineke franchise from him. And my bonuses were tied into the buyout program. So that was basically buying down my agreement with him until this time. Well, that deal went south and got shitty real quick, and then I walked away with nothing. So I had, after my 10 years with Midas and my 5 years with Midas, I already knew that I was going to be a shop owner. It was just a matter of time and how to get it together without having any money. And then I learned the Midas system. I learned the Meineke system, which was the kings of brakes and tires and front end. And then Midas kind of lost their way and went into, I want to be in the maintenance business, and Meineke continued to stay brakes, front end, exhaust, and was killing it, right? And then eventually I went to work for Meineke and learned their ins and outs right down the street. The other side of Midas, which Midas pulled a different demographic than Meineke. And we're not going to speak about demographics, only because Ford Boston said something about, the people that come into the shop drive cars they can't afford and don't necessarily fix things or maintain them. So we're not going to just say that. We're just going to say people in general. But some areas of the world, it's more than others. But we're talking. And then an opportunity came to buy a closed Meineke shop. They call it a fire sale. And then here we go, 18 years later. I'm here and I've been doing it all along. So for a guy that comes in from the dealership service department, service technician. I mean, if he's a race car guy and hot rod guy and he's got a following, he could probably do okay. But he's going to go from dealership environment, which when you go to the dealership, there's this vibe that the dealership is God, and whatever they say you have to do or they're going to avoid your warrant. So there's a certain vibe that goes on in the dealership. And I'm sure they have their share of customers that just applying everything to it. But the sheer volume of their customer base of selling hundreds of cars a month, they have more opportunities to just keep going. So just stay with me with the dealership technician wanting to have his own business. So there was a guy who got into the Meineke franchise system probably 5 years later than I did, and he purchased Bordentown Meineke and said he came from the dealership service department, and he was a hot rod guy, and Meineke does not attract hot rod guys unless you're kind of known for it. And then at that time, Meineke decided they wanted to be the quick lube industry leaders, and I turned all that stuff away, and I'll get more into it. So this dealership tech was like, all right, well, this is a fit for me, right? Because I self-offer oil changes all day long, OCIs, and maintenance at the dealership. So this should be a good fit with me, this shop in Burlington. And it really wasn't. So what happened was, after 5 years or so of him trying to run it the Meineke way, he just couldn't do it and said, I'm done. He said, I open my doors, I have 10, 20 people wanting a cheap oil change and nothing else. And after a few years of that, he had no more money to float his business, and he just couldn't make it work. So if he was at the dealership and he was very accustomed to selling to customers who were open to building a relationship and service and maintaining his car, it should be an easy transition from dealership guy to aftermarket mom and pop. Well, I'm going to give you that scenario for this guy who had the Meineke shop. It didn't work out for him. I believe he did go back to work at the dealership. But for Ford Boston, I'm just curious if it was kind of like a similar thing. Come from the dealership environment, got a lot of warranty work. You don't really need the customer's approval for the warranty work unless you're trying to add some things on and uncover. The cash work is probably decent for a guy like him who's really good at what he does. Communication skills. But then when you step out of the hot tub, right, nice and warm and relaxing, and then you go into the aftermarket environment, and then you're dealing with a completely different clientele. sometimes the taste in your mouth is Mama Jude's sour vagina. Along with having employee issues, parts issues, customer issues, personal issues. So I really don't know the whole makeup of that story, and I just kind of thought about it because, you know, at 18 years of me owning my own shop and dealing with the drama, the aggravation, the employees, the expenses, my personal issues, their personal issues, the cost of doing business all the time. You know, your good customers, your bad customers, your in-between customers. It always made me think, wow, should I just go get a job again and just, you know, crawl myself into the spot where I came from and have somebody else be dealing with all the nonsense and I'm just punching the clock and collecting my paycheck. I will tell you, there is times in my life I question. You've probably heard of the question why I do what I do, and that is because of how people make me feel about what I do and the services that we offer to people, not necessarily me myself. And I push through it. I push through because this is my love, this is my passion, and I've always said this. I've loved this business. I love cars. I hate the BS and the drama, and most of the time I hate dealing with the people. That's why I'm not on the counter. Although I do have a good relationship with many customers who come in here. That's because they gave me the opportunity to build that relationship with them and take care of them and their family and their concerns and, you know, the comebacks and mechanics issues, on and on. They welcome the relationship between the shop, the owner, and themselves and their vehicle and their family. I would say there's a lot of people out there that don't give a shit about you. They don't give a shit about, and I'll just give you, I can give you an example every day of customers who have zero interest in building a relationship. And if they come at the gates trying to build a relationship, what's their angle? So I don't really know the whole makeup of. I'm trying to piece it together because I've been there. I've done that. Like, why am I doing all this? Well, then I look at all the people and the lives that are changing. Sierra is now on our team, and what I've given to Sierra for knowledge and skill, that she's going to take with her for the rest of her life, and the bullshit and drama that goes on with what we do here too. The end goal of why I'm here is because this is what I love to do, and the money I love just as much. Not necessarily how much time I get off, because I don't really get off, and if I had time off, I have ADHD so bad, I go find things to do to keep myself busy because I can't just sit still, drink beer, and eat all day and watch TV. It's just not me. But yeah, it's probably very hard for dealer technicians to move into their own shop and try and go at it. Something I wanted to talk about. I'm sure there's a lot more to what happened in this scenario where some of what I had was spot on. I walked that road, and when I think about Rayman Ray didn't leave a dealership environment. He kind of left the same environment I deal with, which is the general public. He's working for body shops and used car dealers, and then customers, and he's dealing with the bullshit too. The crappy customers, the shitty customers, the one that says you broke the car when you didn't do anything to it, or So Rayman Ray kind of was walking in those shoes prior to when he opened his own shop. And I don't know if he found the happy balance of the same flavor that he likes to drink every day. Kind of seems like he's still doing used car dealer work, the wholesale work, and some retail work. But then he doesn't have to work on every person's car. He can pick and choose what he wants. And all of us, privateers can at a dealership or some of these Mavises and Pepleys. You have a choice. Customer comes in and says, "Oh, well, why aren't you taking my car at 5:30 and close at 6 o'clock?" And they don't give a shit. They're going to call corporate and say you didn't take them in. You're going to be reprimanded for it. They don't care about you. They care about the customer more than they care about you. I know that for a fact. I just had a customer this morning, just to give you an example of. Al's been coming here for 18 years. It's a hot day after a holiday. He calls up unannounced for an AC diagnostic and an engine light, and he's like, and it's hot, and I have work already. I'm like, hey, can't you just squeeze me in? No, Al, sorry. I'm not running myself ragged or my crew. We're already behind. It's hot. I have other cars to get to, and he wants to wait for an older Volkswagen for AC repair and electronic issues. That stuff's not going to happen. I'm going to figure out a way to drop it off. It's probably not going to be a gas and go, because it was a gas and go last year, and now you have a July. You know, so for me, you know, I found my limits too. It's like, hey, I got to know my limits and say, hey, enough is enough. And I'm sure that's going to come probably within the next 10 years for me. It says enough is enough for being a Meineke shop owner. Either fall back, sell, or just take some of my clients that I've had and just do specialty work at home. It's probably what my end goal is going to be, but who knows where that's going to be in the next 10 years or so. So yeah, it wears on me when there's guys that, you know, we're very similar about what we do, and YouTube stuff, and mechanic stuff, and customer stuff, and home stuff, and on and on and on. And then you see things change, and you kind of can relate a little bit, even though you don't know the whole story. But I'm sure it's very difficult for that to happen. And then again, a guy who comes from a mom and pop environment and then goes to the dealership, I don't think the dealership's going to take a guy like me who isn't certified in Honda, Lexus, Mercedes, BMW, and put them on the front line, because I'm sure they have requirements, right? But then they would probably stick me in the used car department where there really isn't too much red tape for that. But is the used car department paying the same as the front line? You know, I don't think so. And if it is, then something's way off in our industry. These guys have special factory training, special certificates, and then you have a guy that just comes from the outside world, and he's in the used car recon department making the same rate of pay you are, and you've been there for 30 years or whatever the case may be. I kind of feel like that's what's going on now. They're just putting these guys in these days, and they don't care. Like we're hiring whoever, if you don't like it, work harder, or find something else to do. And somebody else tell me about it. I didn't mean to bend your ears, but it just concerns me for myself, because I've been in Ford Boston shoes and Rain Man Ray shoes and South Main Auto. I mean, we're all dealing with the same crap. And here we go. Just give you an example. Trailblazer SS 60,000 miles. AC condenser is leaking. Issues getting the condenser out. Go to charge it and back it. The serviceable line, high side, is leaking. Try to get the line out, get the service port out, won't come out. Put a little heat on it, mess with it, part with it. 20 minutes later, it's still not coming out. The line's twisted. Party's over. It needs a line now. Stuff like that. So the rust, I did a video earlier, the rust that we deal with is very discouraging for a technician. You think you can just go to the customer and say, oh yeah, well, it needs lines and condenser and everything now, and then who knows what happens when I get back to the evaporator, or that Honda, if you're doing a hub bearing on it, that the knuckle's so rotted out, the snap ring's rotted out, the integrity of everything is just garbage, and you're trying to get the job done. It pays an hour and a half, and then 3 hours later you're into it, like, what the f. But thanks for watching.